Welcome to the True That Show, a show about lifepreneurship presented with wit, humor, and banter by Deborah Drummond and Caroline Blanchard. A lifepreneur is someone who's living life the way an entrepreneur runs their business. All in. Lifepreneurs are rock stars. Lifepreneurs are people who are brave, who risk, who live full on, who think out of the box, who win this thing called life. Lifepreneurs are around us every day. They are everyday heroes. Join Deborah and Caroline, these two stage-walking women who tell it like it is. You'll learn from the most incredible lifepreneurs who will inspire you to be the best version of you. Now here are your hosts.
Hey, welcome back to another fabulous week of the True That Show. And roof to the house, who doesn't want to talk about being sexy and vibrant? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And you can listen to this to the private of your own earbuds. We have an amazing guest on. We've had a beautiful journey with this woman, actually, because she was one of the authors in the 20 Top Powerful Women in Network Marketing Tell All book. And so I'm sure you guys have seen the book, bought the book, read the book. So you've read this woman's chapter, and she's going to be here to fill in the gaps. But Caroline, I got to tell you, we were having a conversation and, the word superhero gets thrown around quite a bit. My son right now is painting, ractos, superheroes. I'm like, oh, every generation has had their superheroes. Every generation's had maybe from DC Comics to Spice Girls to, my son with Naruto. And this woman is I say she's like the superhero of getting people turned on to themselves sexually and vibrantly. And she's got a really interesting story that I think people will not only be inspired from, but learn from. So I got to ask, there's a lot of questions that we've thrown at each other. And I don't think I've asked you who your superhero is.
Oh, goodness. It's you. No, a bit more seriously and a bit more honestly. My superhero is, what? I don't have one specifically. Honestly, I think there's superheroes in our everyday life. And for me, a superhero is someone that will do all these little actions. So there's so many that we could name. I don't have a fictional one that is wearing a cape. But I can say that probably if I really, really stop a second and think who are my biggest superhero, it's mothers. And I'm saying mothers because I don't want to, discredit fathers, but you guys are not going through the same thing that we are. Women and mothers in general, we're born with a bunch of different emotions that we don't understand. We grow up, we are thrown into teenagers and then having our periods and then falling in love and having the ups and down mood swings, things that you don't even understand yourself. You don't even know how to actually, manage all of that. And then eventually we grow up and some of us have kids and then you get to carry a child, have a life that forms inside of you. And then when that child is born, you just applied and got 35 different jobs, psychologist, house cleaner, maid, mother, name it. I could go down, but we become the biggest multitaskers. There's no guide that is given to us. There is no how-tos. There's no training. You just woo, there you go. Change your first diaper, feed your first child. And then we keep on going in life and being at some point when our kids are raised and we feel like I've done it all. Woo, I'm finally out of the woods. Bam, menopause hits. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? What can I do? How can I deal with all of that? And the mood swings are back and your body is reacting a bunch of different ways that you can't control. And so on. And I'm not going to go further than that because I haven't experienced all of that. Maybe Deb could tell us a bit more what's after that. But no, for sure, my biggest superheroes are women and mothers. So what about you, Deb?
Well, personally, after listening to that, I hope I come back as a dude, like my next life on this planet, because I've lived that experience that you're talking about, and I'm like, yeah, you know how some people, I want to come back as a, you know, as a turtle, or I'm like, I'm coming back as a dude because they don't have all that stuff to go through. It'd be really funny to watch it though. It's like, ooh, glad I already got through that in my last lifetime. But I'm going to be like way more shallow. And I'm going to tell you that when we were having that conversation, it was like, who was the first superhero that I remember seeing? Right? When did I see that? And honestly, and don't bug me about being 80 years old. And not everyone's going to remember this, but I used to watch a show when I was little on Saturdays, and it was called Shazam. It was called Shazam. And I don't remember it, but it was kind of like, it was very much like the bullets go off in this funky little one-piece costume, which would be so archaic these days. But I think why people get enthralled or why it captivated me is because it took me out of my life. You know, whatever age I was at, it took me into this world of fantasy where anything was possible and I could do whatever I wanted. And I'm living vicariously through this superhero who seems like they can't get penetrated, right? I mean, if you think about in life, if you couldn't get hurt or there was no risk factor, like you couldn't lose, because superheroes, like they always win at the end of the show. They're the hero. They come out unscathed. They're not in the hospital getting stitches. You know what I mean? Like they're these amazing superheroes that life just doesn't penetrate. And you're enthralled because that's not how life is, right? And so I think that my first love of superheroes or someone that was Shazam, and you're like, wow, you could actually do whatever you want and nothing penetrates you. And honestly, no one says no. Like you just have control of your own life. I think those attributes of superheroes are really, really cool. And I think that's why we fall in love with them so much. And I think that's some of the stuff that we goal for in life is having control of our life, being able to recover from emotions, you know, feeling good about ourselves, feeling strong, feeling like we could jump off a building, cape or no cape, and pull this off, right? So that's what I love about our show is that we interview people that are entrepreneurs and lifepreneurs, and we know it's going to hurt. And we know that you're not fallible and you don't have secret, Wonder Woman little bracelets, right? You're going to get it taken out at the knees at some point. And how do you get back up? So I think it's time to definitely listen to the woman on the table today. And so, Saireen, I'd love to invite you into this conversation and share with us what it is that you're doing, fill in the gaps we didn't get from your chapter in the book. And what is it about, turning women on to being that sexy, vibrant, thriving self that you clearly have been able to do? If you're watching this woman's lives, you're like, woohoo. So do share because we want to hear it.
Thank you so much for having me on, Deborah and Caroline. I'm so excited to be here and a bit nervous, to say the least. I am so excited to share little tips. And, as women, especially in my culture, we don't discuss a lot of things. You don't have a written formula and you don't talk about, we should be actually covering up in our culture. We should be wearing like turtlenecks up to here. And, and you were sort of looked upon a certain way if you're trying to go against the norm or your culture. But anyways, when I was younger, 20s, you want to feel good, look good, and you want to dress up, and you're actually just starting to feel your way through life. In your 30s, you're going, okay, now it's a career time, and let's just get going there. And you're exercising, and you're feeling good, and you're having a good habit, implementing good habits. And then when you're 40s, you're going like, okay, I don't care what other people think. And I love my parents, but that's the way they used to be, and I'm not going to carry that with me. The limited beliefs start shifting. And in the 40s, I heard from someone who's like, you're going to be the best you're going to be. And it's an exciting time in your life. And instead of like being afraid of being 40, you're going to embrace it and you're going to rock it. Well, I actually was looking forward to that because in my 30s, I had several miscarriages. Sorry. And I didn't like the person I saw in the mirror. I had imbalanced hormones. I had mood swings. I gained weight. And, when we're sitting at a pool and looking around, I'm like, I don't belong. I don't fit in. I don't feel comfortable wearing my bathing suit. And I don't deserve being on this holiday. It was really bizarre thoughts. And then I decided at that point, being in Miami, that I was going to come home and I was going to start doing something different because I was turning 40. So that's when I started getting, I hired a personal trainer. I ended up working out a couple times a week. I tried new exercises like pole dancing that I've never done before. It was great for strengthening your arms, by the way. I started running. I did things that I didn't do before. And I was excited to explore. And that's when I'm like, oh, wow. And the side benefits of that was I was losing the weight without even thinking about it, without looking back about that woman that had the miscarriages and didn't know what 40 was going to look like, but only embracing what was going to be in the future.
Wow, that's incredible. I think that, and never apologize for getting choked up, because I think your emotions are expressing from many of us, right? And so you talk about your culture. So Saireen, when you say your culture, where do you come from? What's your heritage?
Well, I was born in Fiji, exotic Fiji. And I was actually raised on a sugarcane plantation, and we had a lot of land. And so it was, I may get this wrong, sorry, but it felt like it was like 360 acres of land or 240, something like that. And it was all farmland, and you could grow vegetables. And it was just a neat feeling to have. And being Fiji, we're surrounded by beautiful water, sandy beaches, coconut trees everywhere. So it was sunny. Didn't have snow, that's for sure. I didn't see my first snow until I got to Vancouver. So when I was 5 years old, my parents and my sister came here, and we saw snow for the first time. And I just remember, like, it was beautiful, but, I just didn't know. Well, I wasn't speaking English. I didn't know how to fit in. So I escaped into my own little world and wore like I'd like to play dress up, and I'd imagine what it would feel like to be glamorous. So I'd go into my mom's closet, pull out her beautiful saris with a lot of bling bling sparkles, and I'd wear it, wrap it around a couple of times, and I'd run up and down the street feeling glamorous and thinking that I'm in a Hindi movie. I'm lucky I didn't fall down or hurt myself. And I think that's when I actually loved beautiful things.
Wow. What a great reflection. And, I think it's really interesting is that it really sounded like it was a shift in your mind that made you decide that you were going to make 40s the best of what 40s had to offer. It sounded like, they say that we move from pleasure and pain. And from me, it sounds like you did a little bit of both. And that the weight was coming off as you started to love yourself more and move in that direction, right? I know that you come from a great love of business and entrepreneurship, and that's been part of that journey for you. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
About my business?
Yeah.
So actually, the way I got into it was because I like beautiful things. I went and worked in retail, and I was surrounded by clothes, shoes, and handbags, and I had to have them. They brought me so much joy. But at that time, I realized I needed to afford myself. So I ended up going back to school, upgrading my skills, and went to the dental field. And I was making really good money over the time. But I still like my beautiful things, it was almost like a relief. It was like an escape for me for going shopping and just bringing so much joy back into my life. But one day it caught up to me. So now I maxed out 2 credit cards instead of 1. And I started panicking, and I felt sick to my stomach. I felt out of control. I'm like, oh my gosh, I must be the only one feeling this way. What do I do next? So the only way that I knew how was I got a second job. And I ended up working I'm working now 2 jobs, my dental, my retail. And I'm working almost 5 to 7 days a week. And I'm feeling burnt out. And I knew something had to change, because here I'm also trying to spend time with my family. And when I was with my family, I wasn't being present because I was so worried about my credit cards, my debt. I needed something to change. So that's when I actually started thinking about a business opportunity, which was presented to me probably a year ago. And I had talked to a friend of mine, Dave, who is an entrepreneur, and he had introduced me to some products, but he actually gave me told me about a business opportunity back then. And I thought, now, since the other two jobs didn't work out for me, maybe I'm open to listening to this. And so I did. And I was so glad that I partnered up with him and being my own boss. That was such a huge shift for me. You know, and I worked hard, and not overnight, but over time, I paid down my debt, you know, and took accountability, responsibility. And I wanted my joy back, you know? So I did what I needed to do. I learned, asked a lot of questions, became a good student. And it really paid off when I needed it to.
That's awesome. And I know that you went also in a field that passionate is your passion, because I know that, you know, you can start a business and have success. But in the industry that you're talking, which I'm familiar with, network marketing, I think that you can only have success if you really associate with a product that is really meaningful to you and really, you know, change something for you. Because when we become a product of our product, that's when we can actually share it without selling it. We just share because we're actually, you know, sharing solutions. We really want to help people. And that's why, you know, there's so many successful people from different companies, because we don't necessarily associate the same things. But what was your passion at that point, Saireen, that, you know, really fulfilled you and was like bringing us a bit on the subject that we are today, that also allowed you to empower women and help them feel sexier and help them feel stronger and healthier?
I just want to start by sharing with you a quick story.
Yeah.
You know, and when I was, I came back from Toronto, and I had been seeking answers, and that's what I do. I find evidence. So about menopause, I was just starting middle. I'm not too sure. All I knew was I had these symptoms. You know, I was experiencing hot flashes and brain fog, and I was tired, and I had lack of energy, and I had gained weight. You know, it felt like overnight, but I know that I was eating properly and I was exercising, but something just didn't click. And so I searched. I went to talk to my physician. I ended up seeing a gynecologist. I ended up seeing a functional medicine doctor, and I saw a naturopath, because I always want to go more of a natural way if I can. And so I'm searching and searching and searching. And then all of a sudden, I go to my pharmacy, and she's giving me all these supplements. And by the time I got home and I'm just getting ready for my day, I almost had 40 pills for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like, what? I just had to go say, Saireen, this is not what you're all about. You're still experiencing all the side effects, you're still having the symptoms, but you're also having side effects as well. Something had to change. And so I thought, I'm going to start all over. I'm going to push away everything that I know that I'm taking, because it wasn't helping giving me back energy, clarity, or anything like that. I stopped everything. Then I went and started introducing things that I knew in the past. I got lost in my journey. I got lost in myself. I couldn't even recognize myself, right? So, and with this brain fog, you know, I was going every direction instead of just focusing on what my body needed and listen to myself intuitively, right? And then I started introducing these products, and then all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, I have more energy, because those were add-ons to what I was doing, like exercising and eating healthy, but something wasn't working, right? And so having this and drinking more water and having shakes and introducing myself to other things. It really, really, I was being product of the product.
Wow. One of the things that you say that, a couple of things that you said that really rang true for me. And I think that is really important to know when listening to someone like yourself is when you say, it wasn't overnight, it was over time. Like your journey is a journey of not overnight, over time. And then you talked about you got lost in yourself. And I think so many times, me and Caroline, you talked about superheroes being moms and the role that a woman takes. And how many times do we say, oh man, I finally feel like I'm getting back to myself. And it isn't even that you're getting lost in an unhealthy way. You were going the route that many people go. And you got lost in that journey because sometimes we think other people know more than we do, or we're uneducated or unresearched. And oh my gosh, I mean, listen to the stuff that Caroline listed off. Who's got time to sit on, Dr. Google or talk to everybody about every book or everything? It gets very confusing. And so I think one of the things that we get very excited about when someone comes into our life that is knowledgeable is like, they always say that there's a saying that, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. But I also believe when the teacher's ready, the student appears, right? And I think it's a relationship of someone listening to what you're saying today and identifying, right? Because we do get lost in ourselves. It is a busy world. It is a busy world. And I love that because we are a quick fix society. We are a quick fix society, whether it's I want to be a millionaire, whether it's I want to weigh what I did when I got married, whether it's I want to accomplish this goal. And where people get lost is in the middle, right? The middle is no guarantee. You may try a whole bunch. Yeah. So you may try a whole bunch of things.
That I absolutely love that you said as well. And you both said it. And Deb, you went back on it, is that she got lost, but not in an unhealthy way. Quite often we will think, oh, she got lost, like she started drinking too much or, taking this or that or that. But I see a lot of women, and I'm saying women just probably because my closest circle are women, but also because we are more vocal about it. But I see a lot of us also getting lost when we hit like mid 40s to mid 50s, because there's so many different things changing in us that we start reading an article and it says, take probiotics are amazing for you. So then you're like, okay, ordering probiotics. And then it says, oh, this vitamin is really good for you. Order this vitamin. And then you should take some protein shake in the morning. Get me the protein shake. And we start. And then, oh, you should walk 30 minutes a day. And then we're all super achievers. So, okay, I'm going to walk my 30 minutes a day. No, at our age, it's really good to do muscles and, build our muscles. So you're like, okay, I'll do this. And then the other one is like, no, stretch training is really good at your age. We end up being told so many things that at some point it's like if I would listen to everything, I would need a schedule just for my vitamins, my exercise, and my rest. And in between my rest, I would have to meditate and read and also take time for myself, not forgetting to have a bath and to also, put the mask in my hair and blah. So, I mean, for me, when you guys say getting lost, I feel there's a big part that's how we're getting lost. And what I love about Saireen and about her story is that she really got onto one path. And, just the fact that you said that you had 40 pills to take, that's not normal. That's right there. It's kind of a red flag. But, you consciously made a choice of like moving all this, and you got on one path and decided that this is what I'm doing. And I actually follow your lives on Facebook and everything. And it's not that complicated because you really simplified so much, your whole routine and everything, that I think that just the fact of simplifying all of that must have given you some peace of mind and some freedom as well,
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think last year was the beginning of just a transition for all of us and reflect on what worked and what didn't work. And if we were being outside, well, we had to figure out what would work inside for us. And at the same time, and fill in that void, and we had time to actually think about oh, is this really working for me? Or can I change it? You know, how can I make things better? We have more time to spend on like reading or going on to e-books or going into podcasts and other things. But I'm so grateful that I was able to say, okay, I know what works, which is exercising, eating healthy. But when you get to a certain age, not exercising works the same. So if I'm exercising at my 40s, and I used to run and lost the weight, and I could do pole dancing and do weight training and build up my muscles. Yes, we need to build muscles. As we get older, it starts decreasing. The density starts decreasing, and we have to follow a different protocol. So whatever in 40s, like I was feeling great, and then in the middle of my 40s, I realized something's not working. But if I only knew. It's, people never knew that you're going to have digestive issues. Your hair's going to fall out. All these things. You're going, but I thought that was supposed to happen when you're in menopause, in your 50s or 60s or whenever that is. As women, we know that's going to come. But when it's there, it's like, oh my gosh, I need a quick fix. I need a pill. And like a headache, hopefully goes away tomorrow. But sorry, it doesn't work that way, right? You need to it's now a process, and meditate on it and just love yourself through the process. So, exercise a certain way, breathe a certain way, eat certain foods, because when you have digestive issues, most likely you're going to cut out your gluten and dairy and whatnot. And a lot of these different processes that we go through, it's all unique. We're all individuals, so we need to figure out what works for us. But all I can provide is a guidance, right? And I hope that I'm able to help people, because it's all about, getting rid of the hot flashes. In my 50s, that's when I gained an extra 10 pounds, and so it was about, okay, let's reflect what's working and what's not. And so it's, again, drinking lots of water, and how caffeine isn't your friend, even though it has been for the last 40, 50 years, and we love it and it gives us energy. But there's side effects to that, and that we have to realize that actually caffeine affects your adrenal glands, and how that affects the whole body, and da-da-da-da. I'm not here to explain to you about all that, but all I can do is, once you start eating properly, sleeping, drinking lots of water, and believing in yourself, loving yourself, and having good habits put in, that's when you're actually losing the weight, you're getting focused, you're getting more energy, and then you're feeling like, wow, that was just, that was just back there. Now I'm over here now. I went from A to C now, and B is like, okay, be kind to yourself. That's what you just have to do. Get through B to get to the other side.
That's awesome. And so, Saireen, I know that as we're kind of wrapping up the interview here, that's been, an amazing journey. And thank you so much for sharing. I know that we are going to be putting your contact information with the interview, and you have offered for the first 10 people that want to have a more of an in-depth conversation with you and an experience with you, you're going to share some of the samples of the things that you use along with your wisdom. And so for people that are wanting that, then they can contact you for that. I thank you for I just love the whole superhero thing, and you've made me laugh today, and you've made me laugh at the things that we go through. And if you can't laugh at yourself, right? You can't laugh at yourself. And I'm a little past the 5 number, so I can understand the journey. So I'm going to kind of pass it over to Caroline and say some final words. And if there's anything that you think that you want to share with us at the end of the interview and share with our viewers, and please do, Saireen. So Caroline, would you like to wrap us up?
Well, you will find that very strange, because I was going to take a stab, But no, I'm surrounded by women that are in their 50s and look absolutely gorgeous, are empowered, are sexy. And it's funny because Saireen was talking about caffeine, and in my mind, I'm like, another thing that Deb never touched, caffeine. Like, she knew it all years ago. Caffeine, microwave, sugar, gluten, blah, blah. But that's why I'm comfortable with bucking you, because you don't do your age. But there's a reason why you got to that age and you don't look like it at all. So that's a compliment to you. There is looking great and feeling great comes with a price. And the price is taking care of yourself, not indulging in things. And, it's like if we look at JLo, and I'm going to use her as an example because she's absolutely gorgeous as well and over 50. And gosh, she was at the Super Bowl making some 20-year-olds, feel bad about themselves. But there's a reason. JLo is like super healthy, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't this, doesn't that. So there's always a price to pay. But why I would encourage you to contact Saireen and have a chat with this woman and even follow her on Facebook is because she talks about it in a very vulnerable and real way that we can all identify to. But she's talking also about, she is paying the price that needs to be paid, but it comes with emotions and everything. And she talks about all of that. But she also offers amazing solutions. So contact her, Saireen, and for those of you who can't see her, Saireen is a gorgeous woman from Fiji, like with beautiful eyes and super long hair. Like, I know her hair, it's like we can't even see it all right here on the screen. But Saireen, thank you so much for being with us today. And please give us your contact information. We'll also put it in, but
I just want to thank you so much for having me, both of you. And thank you for letting me share my story. I want to get my message out and help as many people as possible.
And your contact info?
Oh, it's Saireen, SAIREEN.activeliving@gmail.com. So it's Saireen.activeliving@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And again, everyone, if you want to leave us comments, send us messages on that. We'll pass on the messages if it's for Saireen. If you want to talk to us, you know how to reach us. And we're open to suggestions as well for future shows. And thank you again for all being here with us today. Have an amazing week.
Thanks.